let me share my screen and just let me know if you're able to view my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So since this is the first session, I'll just walk you through the course content that we'll be covering in next 25 days. Okay, so as I told you, now if you have not attended the demo, this course consists of total 25 sessions. First 4 sessions would be completely a theoretical part. And then from there onwards, the 5th session onwards, we'll be doing all in system. The practical part will be doing it in the system. All of you will be given access to SuccessFactors instance where you can log in and practice whatever that is taught in this session. Okay, so first 4 sessions are important for you all. If any aspirant who want to get into SuccessFactors need to know some information, some basic information about SuccessFactors, like what is SuccessFactors, how do we do the certification, how to keep your certification active, what is Learning Hub, or what are configuration workbooks, what is partnered. So we'll be discussing all of these things in the first 4 sessions. Okay, so let me just walk you through the session. We have the day-wise course content. Okay, we'll be going through. In the demo, we have discussed about what is a cloud computing and what exactly is SuccessFactors. We'll start with the first session. We'll start with the roles and responsibilities of a SuccessFactors consultant. Is my voice very low?
Yes.
Yes, your voice is very low. Can't hear you properly.
You cannot hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but still it's very low.
Let me check my mic settings then. I can hear you all. Okay. How is it now?
Please check from other, so because we are able to hear from.
Yeah. Okay, is it better now or it is?
Yes, it is. Yes, better now.
It is better now.
It's better, but it's still low.
It was okay for me.
Yeah,
Please
some of you
increase
says it is okay. Yeah, maybe you can check your volume also in your systems. If you have to adjust your volume, please do that. Now I'm using headset and I'm close to mic. So my
Yeah, we are good. I think we can continue.
Okay. Yeah, day 1, the first session will be talking about roles and responsibilities of a SuccessFactors consultant. Okay, like once we get into SuccessFactors roles, what will we be doing in the projects? What would be our role and what are our responsibilities? We don't have many roles in SuccessFactors, unlike other technologies. We don't have many roles. We only have one role called a consultant who does all the work. Okay, we'll discuss in detail about the roles and responsibilities of a SuccessFactors consultant. And then we'll talk about the landscape of the system. It is important to understand the landscape of the system. The first thing when you are assigned with a project, you need to understand what is the landscape of the customer, how many systems you have to configure, and what is the sequence that you follow for the implementation. Okay, that we'll be discussing. And then the types of systems. There are basically 2 types of system, provisioning and instance. Okay, we'll talk in detail about provisioning, what do we do in provisioning and what do we do in instance. That is your first day. And second day, we will be talking about the release management. SuccessFactors upgrades or updates the system once in 6 months or twice in a year. When this release happens, you will see many new features coming into the system, many enhancements that would be done. So we'll be discussing what are those release functionalities, how to check what are the types of release functionalities we have, how to check them in the system, where will we find that, and what would be our role in the release. Okay, we'll be talking about release management. And then certification is very important. Again, every aspirant who want to get into SuccessFactors should have a active certification. The first thing that in your interviews, the first question that would be asked in your interviews is if you have active certification. Okay, so how to do the certification, what comes in certification, what is the pass percentage, how to keep your certification active, that we'll be discussing in day 2. And day 3, we'll be talking about the implementation guide, which is nothing but the configuration guide. You can go through the configuration guide, the sequence of steps that are defined in the configuration guide. We just follow that sequence. Now, this is a document which is given by SuccessFactors. After every release, SuccessFactors will be updating the document configuration guide as well. So we'll go through the configuration guide and see what are the configurations that we have to do in the system. This is the most important document for anyone who works in SuccessFactors. Even after 10 years in SuccessFactors, now if I have any doubt or if I need something about a particular topic, I go refer to the implementation guide. Now, it is like 300 odd pages document. It is worth printing and keeping the hard copy handy so that as and when you have some doubts, you can refer to the document. I'll be sharing this document with you all. And then configuration workbooks. These are the workbooks which are given by SuccessFactors again, which would be shared with customers to fill and share it back with us so that we know the requirements of customer. Okay, so how many types of workbooks we have in EC and what are each of those workbooks, that we'll discuss in day 3. Day 4, which is the last day for the theoretical part, we'll be talking about implementation methodology, basics of SuccessFactors Employee Central. So how to start the implementation. So those things we'll be discussing in kickoff template and the implementation methodology. And we'll talk about the provisioning system. So what is provisioning system? How to log into provisioning system? Who gets the provisioning access? So that we'll be discussing in day 4. So with day 4, we'll be completing all theoretical part. And day 5 will start with the configuration in system. Now, at this point on day 5, you may not need the instance access because we'll still be looking at the provisioning system details. Provisioning system, you will not get provisioning system access. You will only get instance. We only do 5 to 10% of configuration, or we enable the services in provisioning system. Okay, so I'll show you how to enable the services. What are the services that are required to be enabled from provisioning in the day 5. Day 6, we talk about very important topic of SuccessFactors, which is data models. We have 7 data models in EC. We'll talk about each of those data models. What are the uses of these data models? How they can be modified. How to use those data models in Employee Central System. We'll talk in day 6. Day 7, we'll start with the first data model. We'll start working on the data model. Day 6, we discuss only about the data models. What are each of those data models? How to modify them. And day 7, we'll start working in the one of the data models, which is the corporate data model, the first data model. So we'll discuss in detail about this data model on day 7. Day 8, we'll discuss about second data model, and we also discuss about the configuration objects. What are the different types of objects that we have and how to configure them in the system, like how to create a department or how to create a company, how to create a location. So those things, we start doing it in the system in day 9, 10, 11, and 12. These 4 sessions will be configuring the foundation and MDF objects. And using the objects that we have created in 9, 10, 11, 12 sessions, we'll be hiring or adding the employees in the system. We'll see how to add an employee. And while adding the employees, what are the important information that we have to capture? And if at all required, what changes we can do in the hiring screen? What information gets automatically popped up and what information is to be filled for the employee data. We'll discuss in detail about the employee portlets or blocks of information. Okay. And day 14, now till day 13, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, we'll see how to manage each of the objects manually. So if I have to create one department, how to go and create it in the system manually one by one. In day 14, we'll look at the bulk imports. If I have hundreds of departments to be created, thousands of positions to be created in the system, how do we upload them into the system? That we'll see in day 14. And day 15, we'll see importing employee data. Now, importing or uploading employee data is not same as the foundation objects or MDF objects. It is little bit different because employee data contains multiple types of information like contact information, address information, salary information, employment information. So it contains a lot of details. So all of these details will be uploading through import employee data on day 15. Now, we'll have some good amount of data because we have maintained the master data, or we have hired the employees in bulk through import, and manually also we'll see 1 or 2 employees. Okay, so we must have configured the foundation objects also by day 15. So we'll go and see if I have a bunch of employees or tons of employees in the system, how do we control the security part? Who will have access to what data? If I am an employee, when I log into the system, I should only see my own data. I should edit my own data to some extent. If I have to update my contact information or my address information or my personal information, I should be able to do it. But when it comes to my compensation details, though it is my own data, I'll not be able to update the salary. It is the HR's responsibility to update the salary. So different roles in SuccessFactors will have different access. So everybody, when they log in, they see the screens differently. Okay. Now I will not be able to edit others' information. I will be able to edit my own personal information, not others' personal information. But my manager can edit my information and his or her information as well. So different roles in the organization will have different permissions. So how do we control these permissions? That we'll talk in day 16. The RBP, we call it RBP, role-based permission. The topic wise, it is very small, 1 hour or 1.5 hour of session, but it is very important to understand the RBP structure. And then day 17, we'll start with the workflows. So workflows are nothing but the approvals, which can be defined for any process. It can be for change in personal information or change in transfers or promotions or terminations. And for any of these processes, if you want to have approval to be triggered, let's say I'm applying a leave and I need 2 levels of approvals to be configured, or HR is transferring an employee and it should trigger 3 levels of approval. They're trying to initiate promotion, it should trigger 4 levels of approval. So we'll see how to set up these workflow approvals. So what are the different types of approvers that can be configured in the system? That we'll see in day 17. Day 18, very, very important topic again, business rules, which is the toughest part, I can say. So how to configure the business rules in the system for validating the data or for triggering the workflows, or auto-generating of the codes, or if we have to validate and if you have to calculate the data, we can do it through business rules. We'll see the business rules in day 18, 19, 20, and 21. Using these business rules, we'll also see how to configure the workflows in day 21. Day 22, we'll talk about a custom portlet. How do we customize the system if we have to configure a custom field? Now, SuccessFactors gives us many standard fields. Like within personal information, you will see fields like first name, last name, gender, salutation, nationality, and so on. But if your customer want to have some additional fields incorporated into any of the information, like it could be in address, it could be in compensation details, or it could be in job information or employment details. So how do we add the custom fields into the system? That we'll see. And then if customer want to have a separate section, which is not given by SuccessFactors gives us some 20 to 30 blocks of information like personal, address, contact, and so on. But if your customer want to have their own block of information, like they want to track medical history of the employees, or they want to have the assets issued details maintained in the system. We can also customize, or we can also create a custom block. So how to create that custom block, how to add fields into it, how to enable this block for employees, so that we'll see in day 22. Day 23, we talk about the position management settings. So again, important to understand so how the position is structured in SuccessFactors. So how do we maintain the hierarchical representation of the positions, that we see in day 23. Day 24, which now day 24 or 25 will now, depending on if we could not complete everything in day 23, 24, will also extend till day 25. So we have some minor topics like how to change the homepage settings, or how to manage the themes. The different customers want to see the instance or see the system in their own colors or in their own themes. So how do we do the branding in the system? Okay. So that is through theme manager, how to upload logos, how to upload pictures, how to change the text colors. So those things we'll see in day 24. We'll also talk about, I think I've not mentioned that in here, day 24, 25. We'll see how to move the configuration from one system to other system. So we have different systems and we move the configuration from one system to other system. So how to move the data? So we have different types of moving the data. So what are those ways and how to configure that we'll see in day 25. We'll also see the reports, how to create reports, what are the types of reports, how to create them, how to execute them, how to share those reports with the other users, that we'll see in 24, 25. Okay, this is the overall content that we'll be covering in next 24, 25 sessions. Now, each session is of 1 hour. We'll start at 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock. We'll have 1 hour of session. If you have any doubts, any clarifications that are required, you can interrupt, stop, or interrupt. You don't have to wait till end of the session to clarify your doubts. As and when you have doubts, now you can ask me. But again, restrict your doubts only to the topics that we are discussing, because in the earlier sessions, I've seen people asking questions about some topics which we have not discussed, or some doubts, what they have in their experience, or in the what they have been experiencing. So restrict to the topics. We'll go one by one. I'll teach you, each and everything in detail. Okay, and whatever doubts that you have in that topic, we can discuss. So for the next, once we start the practical part, I'll be giving you all the homework. So whatever that we have done. Now, I don't say, or I don't give you the homework in a written format, like you have to go create this and all. Whatever that we do in the system, in the session, you'll have to repeat that. You have to do it on your own in the system. Okay. Next day, you can come up with your doubts. If you have any clarifications that are needed, or if you need some more information about that topic, feel free to ask me those questions. We can discuss. Every day, the first 5-10 minutes, we'll discuss about the doubts if you have any, and then we start with a new topic. I'll take a pause here and see if you have any questions so far.
Yeah, hi Vinu. So when we will start the first day officially, and what would be the timing? It would be the same timing,
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah, it would be the same timing.
Okay. And how about the start date? Do we have any start date officially?
We are starting it today.
Okay, so means this is first day, right? Today.
Yeah, today is the first day.
Okay.
So, when will this course help in the certificate as well?
Yes.
In doing that?
So the certification, whatever questions that you would be getting in the certification, like the probable questions we'll be discussing, like each topic when we discuss, I'll tell you what are the probable questions that can come in certification. Okay. But again, it depends, like certain SAP keeps changing the questions. It is not mandatory, or it is not compulsory that each and every question that we discuss may or may not come in the certification. But most of them, I'll tell you what would be the probable questions. You'll be able to answer all of them. You open, when you start doing your certification, you'll realize that each and every topic or each and every question that comes that you see are discussed in the sessions. Certification, it is bit tricky. Now we'll talk more about certification. We have multiple choice. Every answer seems to be the same. You just have to apply the logic and answer. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
Venu, will you also be covering some amount of integration?
We will not be covering any of the integration. The integration between the success factors modules like employee central, compensation, learning, performance management, that we will talk, but not the integration between success factors and other applications, because you need the integration knowledge. Now, there would be different middlewares that your customers would be using. Different customer uses different middlewares. It could be Delbome, it could be CPI, or it could be any other tool. So you need knowledge in that area. So we'll not be discussing about the integrations.
Anything related to document generation? Are we discussing?
Document generation is not part of the course content, but yes, if you want to do that, we can do.
And integration center?
No, integration center also will not discuss.
Okay. And any real-time exposure, like what all the activities we normally do in a project? In the
whatever
implementation
that we discussed from the day 5, we will be doing it like a mini project. Okay. So what success factors recommends? Success factors recommends us to follow a particular sequence of steps while doing the implementation. We refer to the document and we do the same thing in the system. Okay, it is like mini project for you all. Like we'll be taking a company, we'll be discussing about few scenarios and adding them in the system. Anything else before we start? Okay, I'll take silence as no, and we'll start with the. Okay, so today is the first session. So what is the content that we have discussed? It's a
cloud success factors.
Yeah, cloud computing and success factors that we have already discussed in the demo. We'll start with the roles and responsibilities of a success factors consultant. Okay, roles and responsibilities. Now, if you look at any of the job portals, okay, now they will mention only one role, like a consultant or a lead consultant. Okay, so depending on your experience, the role might change, but you would be doing the same thing. Okay, whether you are a consultant, associate, or lead consultant, or a senior consultant. Now, SAP has different roles, like a technical consultant who does the customizations, who does the coding, functional consultant who gets the requirement from customer and configure the system, a basis consultant who set up the system, and ESS MSS consultant who does the setup of employee self-service. We have workflow consultant who would be doing the workflows separately. Now in SAP, we have these many roles. Now why I'm referring to SAP is SuccessFactors is also a product of SAP. Okay. Now SF is owned by SAP, but we don't have these many roles. You don't have anything called technical consultant or a functional consultant. So all of this would be performed by one role called a functional consultant who will get the requirement, configure the system, customize the system. We don't do any kind of coding here in SuccessFactors. Everything is configurable. Okay, we does the RBP setup, we does the system setup, and we do the ESS and MSS setup. So everything is done by a SuccessFactors consultant. What would be our responsibilities? Now, what will we do in the projects? Basically, there are two types of project: implementation and support. These are the two types of projects that we have. Okay, again, implementation, you may have different implementations like rollouts or the fresh implementation or the re-implementation and so on, but everything comes under implementation. Okay, firstly, we'll talk about some terminology like client, implementation partner, and consultant. Who is a client? Does anybody know who is a client? Client are a customer. Okay, is the end user who is going to use SuccessFactors. We would be configuring the SuccessFactors system as per customer needs. How they want to use the system, what information they want to add while hiring the employee. Okay, what information is to be maintained while transferring the employee. So all of these requirements would be given by your client or a customer because they are the end users who are going to use. We get requirements from them and we configure. Who are we? We are consultants configuring the system as per customer needs. And every consultant will be hired by an implementation partner. Who is the implementation partner? Implementation partner is the one who are authorized to implement SuccessFactors for a customer. Not everybody can go and implement. Let's say I have SuccessFactors certification and I have knowledge of SuccessFactors. I cannot go and implement SuccessFactors to a customer. Firstly, I need to associate with the partner of I need to become a partner of SAP. I need to get license from SAP to implement. It is like a franchising. Now, if I want to have a pizza, or if I want to have McDonald's burger, I don't get these products everywhere in the market, right? I need to reach out to the nearest franchisee or nearest outlet where these products are sold, right? So similarly, to implement SuccessFactors, first thing that you need is you need to be partnered with SAP. And these partners are called implementation partners. Examples can be your IBM or Deloitte, Capgemini, Cognizant, Accenture. So these are the big names, but again, we have small and medium companies also who implements or who supports SuccessFactors to customer. Who is that? Somebody's talking behind. Can you be on mute if you won't have any notes or if you're not talking? Okay, somebody.
No, so your voice is very low. Yes, exactly.
Voice is very low. Is it for everyone? Can you please adjust your
For
mic?
me
Not
too.
for me.
Yeah. I think only some of you are complaining that the voice is low. Can you please check your headset or use headset or increase your
Yes.
volume and see?
So the volume is full over here in my laptop.
Give me 1 minute. Let me check. Hello. Can you all hear me now? Nidhi, can you hear me now?
But it is the same actually.
No. Some of you can hear me properly and some.
See, we are able to hear very properly, I think
Yeah, you need to
Yes,
adjust
yes,
your.
very clearly.
you can happily continue. So others, like I would request, like check your audio connections or like refer the recording just to avoid the deviation, please.
Okay. Let's get into the topic. Yeah, we are talking about the implementation partner. Partners are those companies who are authorized to implement success factors for a customer. Okay. Now, these partners would be hiring the consultants, and consultants will be asked to work on the projects with customers. Now, the projects vary between the timelines vary between 6 months. The minimum would be the 6 months, and maximum can be any number depending on the size of the implementation, size of the project that we are working on. Once a project is completed, you will be moved to a new project. Okay, so consultants can be hired by implementation partner. If you are hired by a customer, you will not become a consultant, you become the end user or admin. You will not be doing all of the implementation, all of the configurations that you can perform as a consultant under implementation partner. Okay. Now, consultants will be either working on implementation or support. So what is the difference between implementation and support? Implementation is for someone who doesn't have SuccessFactors system, and we go get the requirements from customer, configure the system, and hand over the system to customer. That is implementation. Getting the requirements, configuring it in the system, testing, and deploy it to the customer. That is implementation. Now, one good thing in SuccessFactors is each and every customer who has SuccessFactors implemented needs to have a support consultant or support team working with them. And what do we do in support? We do the incident management, change management, and release management in support. Incident management, if customer has any doubt or if customer is facing some issue, it could be anything while hiring issue, while transferring, or issue while doing some action in the system. Okay, they will create an incident or they'll create a ticket. Again, you can have different ticketing tools like Salesforce ticketing tool or Jira or AskHR, or it could be ServiceNow. You can use any of the ticketing tools. Each customer uses their own ticketing. It's most common ticketing tool that we use is ServiceNow. Okay, they would be raising an incident or they would be creating a ticket to resolve the issue, which comes to consultant, which would be assigned to consultant. We go analyze, see what is the issue, find out the root cause, and then fix that issue. Before you release it to the customer, you test it and you release it to the customer. That is the incident management. And in the change management, maybe during the implementation, customer has given some X requirement, which is configured in the system, but now they want to have some changes in the configuration. Example, so they want to have 2 levels in the initial requirement for a transfer workflow. They wanted to have 2 levels of approvals. Now, there is an additional requirement to add one more level of approval. So initially, it was going to manager for approval. And once manager approves, it is going to HR for approval. 2 levels of approval. Now they want to incorporate one more level between these two or after these two. Let's say a manager's manager is to be included for the approval of transfer. So now you need to add 3 levels of approval. So this is a change in the system. So this change would be given by your customer. You need to analyze you need to provide the effort estimation, how much effort is required for this configuration. Now, this change can be a small change like adding a field, or a big change like implementing or configuring some additional functionalities in the system. Okay, so we'll have to provide the effort estimation and do the change in the system. This change is similar to your implementation. Implementation is nothing but you don't have SuccessFactors system. You're enabling the system, you're enabling the functionalities and configuring. Whereas the change, you already have SuccessFactors implemented, but you wanted to have some functionalities improved or enhanced. Okay, so that is called the change management. And then the last one would be your release. Like SuccessFactors releases the new functionalities once in 6 months. So during this period, you'll have to go see what are those new functionalities, what are the bugs that were identified and fixed. Okay, what are the enhancements that are done in the system? So first you need to understand and then educate the customer. You need to communicate these changes to the customer. Okay, so that is the release management. So these three will be done in the support. Okay, now as a consultant, when you're hired as a SuccessFactors consultant, either you will be placed in the implementation project or in the support project. Okay, both of them are same. You need to have the equal knowledge to implement or to support. Okay.
So do we have a choice?
No, you
Like,
don't.
can we mention to the company that we are interested to go for implementation project only?
There would not be any choice. It all depends upon the implementation partner, the requirement. Now, you may be hired as an implementation partner. When they are hiring you, they have offered you for implementation for one of the upcoming implementation. By the time you have joined, maybe the project got stopped, or maybe the project has already kickstarted, or now they have used the existing consultant. They may place you into the another implementation or into a support. If it depends upon the availability. Okay. Sometimes it may happen that after the implementation, you may have to support the same customer. Okay. So let's say Deloitte has implemented a project called HSBC. Okay. Now, same team can support, or support can be given to a different implementation partner. Implementation is done by Deloitte and support is done by IBM. Now, it may also happen that Deloitte has implemented and then support is taken care by AMS team, separate team who is in support. Okay, they will hand over the project, implementation team hands over the project to support team. And sometimes it may happen that the same team who has worked on the implementation also supports the same customer. It all depends upon the requirement, the availability of the resources. Suddenly you're working in a support and then there's no one for the implementation project. You may be asked or you may be pulled into implementation also. We never know the actual requirement. Okay. Any other doubts here in roles and responsibilities of a SuccessFactors consultant?
So I have one. Like you mentioned that initially we may be put into implementation project, but later on we may be moved into support. But if we have not completed, like when we join as a fresher, then at least like first they will make sure that we complete one implementation project from beginning to the end, right? Only after that they'll put us into any support
Yes,
function.
you will be moved out of the project only if the project is completed. Okay, once the implementation is completed, you move to support or different project. Now, each project, each implementation within Employee Central module, you will see 3 or 4 consultants. Depending on the size of the project, you will see 3 or 4 consultants. Now, after certain stages of implementation, if they feel that only 2 resources is enough, you'll be moved to a different project. It all depends completely upon the client's requirement.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else before we move to next topic? Okay. So second topic for today is the types of system. Okay. We have 2 types of system, which is provisioning and instance. Provisioning and instance. Provisioning access is only given to certified consultants. If you are a certified consultant, you will be getting provisioning access. And instance access, anybody can get. Anybody can access. You don't need any certification. Even the end user will also log into instance. Consultant will also log into the instance. Again, depending on your role, you'll get to see the configuration pages, and depending on the end user's role, they'll get to see only the employee data. Okay, but only the certified consultants will be able to log into provisioning and do the setup. We only do a 5 to 10% of configuration in provisioning. That's not actually a configuration. We enable the services that are required in provisioning system. Okay, example, if you're implementing for a global customer who has their operations in 10 different countries. Okay, you are implementing for a customer who is in the US, who has their operations in China, Japan, France, Spain, India, and Saudi. Okay, different countries uses different languages. China, they want to see the instance in Chinese language. Japan, they want to see the instance, the system in their own language, Japanese. Okay, so to enable these languages, you need to do it in the provisioning. Okay, within Employee Central, you have many functionalities like global assignment, position management, dependent management, and so on. These may or may not be required for all customers. Global assignment is required for a customer who has their operations in different countries. If you are implementing for a customer who is only in one country, you don't need global assignment. So you don't have to turn on this feature. Now, this turning on the feature is done in the provisioning system. Whatever functionalities you want to use are to be enabled in the provisioning system. You go enable the switch and come back to instance and do the configuration. Enabling the switch will not enable the complete configuration. It will only enable the functionality, but you need to go configure them in the system. That is done in the instance. Okay, SuccessFactors gives you the access to provisioning system only if you are a certified consultant and your certification is active. So that is the reason why your recruiter would be asking you about the certification in your interviews. The first thing they ask you is, do you have certification? If you don't have certification, you will not be able to log into provisioning. If you don't log into provisioning, if you have not done this 5 to 10% of configuration, you will not be able to do the configuration in instance. So that is why it is required to have certification. We'll talk more about certification, like how to do the certification, where to do the certification, that we'll talk. Okay. Now, instance, anybody can log into the instance, and depending on the role that they are in, if I'm a consultant, I see configuration screens as well. If I'm just an end user, I will only see my own information. If I'm a HR, I will see all the employee data. I can also hire, I can also transfer, I can also terminate employees. Okay, so depending on the role, I see the screens in the instance. But everybody would be logging into the same instance using their own credentials. Okay, any doubts and types of system here? No doubts? Clear? And the third topic for today is landscape. Okay, SuccessFactors recommends every customer to have the 3 systems, mainly development, quality, and production. For any customer across the globe, you will see these 3 systems: development, quality, and production system. Okay, when your customer gives you the requirement, say I want to use a particular functionality. the configuration is first done in development system. Okay, initial configuration is done in the development system. Maybe the configuration that you have done is working completely or may work only partially or not work. You will have to test it. That testing is called unit testing. As a consultant, you go configure and see if your configuration is working fine or not. Maybe you will have to alter or change the configuration after your unit testing, because some functionalities are not working or some scenarios are not working. So you may be doing a number of configurations in development system, which may or may not be required for customer. So you will only move the configurations which are working fine to quality system, where you do the testing, where your business team or where your end users test the system. Now your customer has given you a transfer workflow process, which contains 2 levels of approval. Now that process, your customer has to test in quality system. Only few business users would be logging into quality system and test the system. And they'll have to provide the sign off saying that, yes, this is working fine and this can be moved to production system for all users. Production system, you will not be doing any kind of testing, because this is a real-time system with all the employee data, the actual data. Now in quality in development, you may have done a lot of testings. You have terminated some users, you have added some dummy users, you have transferred, you have promoted, you have applied leave. All of that you have tested in dev and quality. But in production, you have the actual data. If you have 10,000 employees in the organization, all the 10,000 employee data you'll see in the production, the actual data. In quality, you may have only 1,000 or 2,000 employees, or maybe 12,000 employees you have added all employees also. In development, you will not see those many employee data. You'll see only 10, 20, or maybe hardly 100 employee data. Okay, so this is the basic setup for any customer. But again, it depends on customer to customer, whether they want to go with these 3 or some additional system. Some customers may say that I want to have one additional system called pre-production. I want to have a test system separately, quality separately, and test separately. Some may say that we want to have test in quality only, but some customers may say that we want to have test system separately. 3 systems are common for all customers. Additional systems, it all depends on customer to customer. They'll have to pay additionally for the additional system that they want to have. Okay, so the usual landscape would be dev. From dev, you move the configurations to quality or test system, where you do the testing, and once you get the sign off, you'll be moving the configurations to production system. Okay, and if you have any additional system called pre-production generally, as the name says, pre-production. So it is the copy of production system. If you want to have one backup system, something happens to production, you have some scenario which is failing in production, you want to replicate that in the pre-production, you have the same data available in pre-production, so you will go and test it in pre-production. Okay, so that's a copy of the production system generally. Okay, and any other additional systems like test or projects or whatever you want to call it, it all depends on customer to customer, what they want to name those systems. Okay, but usual landscape would be dev, quality, and production system. And production, from production, if you have pre-production, you can also have move the configuration from prod to pre-prod. Okay, clear on landscape?
Hi Venu, I have a question here. So, will there be a customers, without call it the test system as well? Will be doing the development and directly moving into production without QA?
Now, somebody has to approve before you move any change to production. Okay, now your customer has given you this scenario. you have configured it in development if you are moving directly to production system. Okay. Production system, if some scenarios are not working, now your customer might ask, now who has approved these changes to move? Right? So you should always take consent from your customer. That is called UAT, user acceptance testing. The business has to test these scenarios and approve to move it to production.
Okay, if they have an access for the development, that's
Business
it.
users will not have access to development. Let me write it here. Here is consultants who would be doing or who would be logging into development. Here, both consultants and the business users. When I say business users, who has given you the actual requirement? Like mostly the IT team or HR team. Okay, and then here all end users.
Okay.
Okay, pre-production also, your pre-production, nobody would be logging in again, only to consultants, just to replicate the issue and test. Because in quality, you have all dummy data. In production, you have the live data. So this live data is copied to pre-production where you can replicate the issues. Okay.
So one more thing, I just wanted to confirm that the instance that we will be working on is actually production system, right?
No, that would be your demo system. We will be working on demo system and for your practice.
Yes.
Okay.
And in
Yeah, in your once you get into projects, you will be working on all of these instances.
okay.
Okay, again, every system will have both provisioning and instance. Dev provisioning, dev instance. Quality provisioning, quality instance. Production provisioning, production instance. Okay.
How will the different systems be differentiated?
How every system that we work on will have a company ID. And this is unique. Okay. So when you're logging into the system will ask you what is the company ID that you want to log. Or within the URL itself, you will see the company ID. And when you log in to differentiate your dev, quality, and production, you can have a logo, a company's logo. Generally, what you'll do, if I am implementing for PepsiCo, so I'll upload PepsiCo logo, okay, with dev, PepsiCo dev. Your company ID, let's say the PepsiCo dev, PepsiCo QA. Your company ID would be like this, something like this. And then PepsiCo. With the company ID, you can identify. It can be a text or it can be a number or it can be combination of text and number. Okay. With the ID, company ID, you can identify whether it is a dev system or quality system or a production system. Okay. Or after logging into the system also, you can see with you can have a different like logo will have your PepsiCo logo with dev as a text. So each system will have again a URL to log in. Let's say Gmail. So how are you logging in? You go to Google, just type www.gmail.com, right? And if you have to log into Yahoo, what you will do? You go to yahoo.com. So two different URLs. So same thing here also. You'll have different URL. In the URL, you will see the company ID.
So let's say it is dev. Then for instance and provisioning, it will be the same company ID?
Yes, company ID remains same. That's how it is linked between the provisioning and instance. If this is my company ID, when you log into provisioning, you'll see the same company ID. When you log into instance, you'll see the same company ID. Okay. Okay, so we'll stop it here for today and we'll continue tomorrow with new topic. Okay. Thank you all.
Yeah, hi Venu.
Yeah, hi Satyan.
Yeah, we are having separate session for implementations, right?
What do you mean by separate sessions for
I
implementation?
mean like implementations. When you discuss on only implementations, right?
Yes.
I mean
From
we are
fifth
having.
session onward, the practical part, the implementation.
Okay. And we'll discuss about scenario based questions also, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Vinu.
Okay. Thank you all.
You. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.